Hi guys, welcome to an overview about pain. Uh, to understand pain is one of the most important things when you're working with clients that are in pain. So many of us, especially the clients, think that pain is a one-dimensional thing, meaning you touch a cactus, you prick yourself, it senses the touch, it hurts, right? As in a really physical reaction. Touch, hurt. The pain is much more complex than that. We do have sensors that detect things like a prickly cactus, but in the end, all and every pain's origin is in the brain. And in the brain, many more things come together than just that touch. For you to understand, think about pain and how it happens like a cruise ship. And you're in the steering command center with the captain. The captain's your brain. Our brain deciding about pain or no pain takes many things into consideration. He's not all the time steering his ship, so he might have a first commander who's at the wheel steering the ship, who will give him information, how fast the ship is going, etc. He'll have radar with the weather, maybe. He'll visually check what he's seeing from his command platform. He might even call down into the machinery, who knows, or to the upper deck where people see more. And steering towards, let's say, an iceberg, he probably has heard about the famous Titanic and how that went. And maybe some personal things also come into account. So when I tell you have two captains, one's a newlywed with a baby on the way, and another one's a bachelor type of guy who likes to drive fast cars, would you think they kind of make different decisions faced with the same situation? They probably do. So now the captain, taking all these things into consideration, makes the decision. And pain works just like that. So in our body, the captain is the brain. The brain relies on many things. One is sensory inputs. And the first thing you're going to think about are nociceptors. Those are the prickly pear and the cactus receptors. They detect potential pain. And I say that in that certain way for a reason, because it is not a pain origin here. They detect, oh, this could be a hot stove. And they rally that information to the brain, who then says, take your hand off immediately. So, yes, they are targeted towards potential pain, but they are not the one that give the signal for pain. So that information will get to your brain. The other information, like the first officer, etc., we had, will be visual input. What do we see at that time? All other sensory inputs. What do we hear? What do we feel? What do we smell, maybe? And all those will help in a cognitive type of interpretation. The brain running through a checklist, could this potentially be dangerous? We have other emotional inputs as well the brain relies on. Those are learned things. Those could be heard things. That could just be, how do I emotionally deal with potential pain? On the other side, we also have a neural inhibition, which is our own type of pain reduction. To understand that, Think about when you put on tight pants. In the beginning, they will feel really uncomfortable, but we tend to forget that over time. The sensation hasn't changed. The brain has just decided over a certain period of time not to listen to that anymore, not to give it so much weight. And it inhibits that sensation and that trigger of pain. And with that, we know all that inhibition also relies heavily on your current state in terms of stress hormones and just your current state. How good do you feel? To give you an example, let's talk about two guys who had the same type of injury but perceived pain at a very different level. For you to understand, pain is really a super subjective thing. It's different from person to person. So, this is actually from a book. I'll give you the information below. It's a great book. Let's call them Tom and Max. They both report with the same foot injury. They got shot in the same toe portion, but they report really different levels of pain. So let's take Tom. Tom's in the army. He's deployed to Iraq. He's been there for 8 months now. He's gotten used to it. And he and his team go out on a call. On that call, they are confronted with an IED. It blows up half of their convoy. They engage with an fire, an opponent, and in that whole situation, Tom gets shot in the foot. He gets taken out, rescued from that situation, and he's on the way back to camp. He now knows overall, in the whole situation, he came off with a minor injury. And all that could have happened, he feels like he got lucky. He now knows he'll be taken care of. He'll get to go to Germany. He's going to take him to a good military hospital, be treated by very nice nurses, and he's fully covered. He'll get discharged, probably go back to his family in the US, at least as long as he needs to recover. So even though he's going to miss his buddies and the action on the front line, he knows where he's heading to is potentially less dangerous, and he reports very minor pain that he feels with that injury. Max, on the other hand, Max is a college student. He's going out with his buddies to the south side of town tonight, where they end up in a bar brawl they haven't caused, and Max gets shot in the foot in the same way Tom did. In Max's case, he knows he's not insured, so his whole life turns upside down in this moment. He fears, how will I cover this? How will I be able to go on studying? How will I be able to pay off my debts? He's overly shocked because he didn't feel like anything dangerous could have happened tonight. He was just out for a night with his buddies, and now he's lying on the floor, bleeding, getting tended to by medics, and he's in extreme pain with that shot in the same foot. And having both of these stories will tell you a lot about how very subjective pain is and how much things go into pain. When you have a coach, or when you are a coach working with clients, they rely heavily on us to help interpret things. It's on us to tell them, hey, This is not potentially harmful. It is okay to round your back. You're supposed to be able to do that. You will be fine. Or you cleared them to do air squats, let's say, because you know they cannot potentially damage any tissue or cartilage or anything that could lead to more pain. And it's in our responsibility to give them that safety. That will enable them to kind of downregulate that fear and have that more calm position approaching something. We will find movement options that help healing, but also make them trust more in the movement, in a hinge pattern that we later load. And you understanding how pain works will be a big, big part on how you can help your clients along. So for one thing, make sure that you know from a thorough assessment what's potentially a point where the client could come into a situation that could induce pain. But on the other hand, know just as well what situations shouldn't, and make sure you clearly communicate to your client so that they can kind of hand off that fear. And sometimes it's a fear that doesn't rely on the right information. So they can hand that off to you, in turn making them more calm to approach your exercises and keep progressing on the way. A couple of things that really help if you go into our archives or more seminars from us, you will find several hints and more on that. Breathing. Breathing is a really big thing. If you imagine if you are in a state of panic and fear, you kind of upregulate that breathing, and a lot of time actively downregulating the breathing of a client already helps calm that neural system down and get the stress hormones down to a lower level. What also helps is isometric holds, for example, so that you guide the client to a point where they do feel pain and have them hold there. So going back to the whole example, what are we doing? We're actually taking the body and putting it in that situation. And when they stay there, the body kind of goes, well, oh, all right, I guess it's not too bad. I'm not dying, it's not getting worse. And hence, again, some down regulation starts. These are just two very simple things. If you want to incorporate breathing, make sure your clients use nasal breathing, and you'd like them to use a parasympathetic breathing pattern that downregulates everything, which is a 2-to-1 ratio of out to inhale, meaning if you breathe in 2 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds. Breathe in for 2, out for 4. You could go 3 and 6. You get the picture. But usually I have clients start at 2 to 4, make it more difficult if they can do that, or less difficult in a 1 and 2 if they really have trouble breathing. So I hope that gave you an overview of how pain works, helped you understand pain and how it's a really multifaceted thing. And I hope to see you soon. Bye.